Garibaldi defies gravity in a sense because the class sizes are so small, and that's one thing we really tried to preserve. And it was one of the main, one of the main things that we had sort of going for us, but also going against us going into the battle.
We first got involved with Garibaldi School by providing some early childhood education experiences for parents of kids at the school and parents of kids who live in that neighborhood.
Their mandate was to serve children in the neighborhood, and so was ours, but a different set of children.
I was living in the neighborhood and I wanted an option for my daughter, and I had other friends that had children at the school and spoke highly of the school, and I liked the idea that it was a small school and it was really a nurturing environment.
There had been rumors that the school maybe was going to close because of enrollment being so low.
Losing our school, to me, it just meant the implications for that in terms of what it would mean for our community are so significant. It's our playground, it's our meeting place, it's where we come together, it's potentially the school for my child, but it's also just so many things, it's our public space.
It kind of took everybody by surprise, and it happened very quickly. It didn't give a chance really for the parents to kind of organize and say how they really felt about it.
I was at a PAC meeting and the vice principal informed us that they were actually going to have a meeting at the school board to discuss the possible closure of Garibaldi. There was a small group of us. We decided that we would approach Frog Hollow, and knowing that they were active in the school and they wanted to continue to be active in the school.
They took a very strong leadership role in working with the PAC, and without their involvement, we wouldn't have been able to achieve what we did. But that was a natural thing because they were already in place here at the school and still are.
And there was going to be a facilities review process by the Vancouver School Board.
On the board, none of us had any ideas or thoughts of anything other than that, because the enrollment data sort of spoke for itself and there had been nothing else in terms of discussion as to other options.
So the Vancouver School Board decided that Garibaldi School wasn't even going to be part of this facilities review because the enrollment was so low, lower than any other school in the city, that they would just set it aside, and that it was really almost a kind of a no-brainer that this school couldn't continue with only 42 kids there in a school that could hold up to 150.
There was quite a negative response from the community. They in turn then came to the school board meeting, and it was at that point that in their presentation that they suggested that they thought they could come up with an alternative set of proposals that would enable the board's concerns to be addressed and start turning around the school, both in terms of content and in terms of enrollment.
Lo and behold, I was just shocked that evening at the meeting. They decided, and there was two different political spectrums on that board, but they decided together that they would give the community and Frog Hollow supporting it a chance to come up with a proposal for keeping the school open and viable.
Finally, when this whole issue began to arise, then I became involved with the PAC, and the PAC from there expanded and drew on many resources, ultimately to carry on the fight to have the school remain open.
The thing about Garibaldi is that it is such a small school. So the level of relationships, I think, is much stronger than you would get in large schools with 500-600 kids.
I didn't know how to entirely engage in it right away, but my concern was that the timeline was so tight that if we didn't do something, we were going to lose our school.
If we couldn't find a way to increase enrollment and bring more money in from the province, which is the way schools are funded, then it just wasn't going to work.
We, the board, knew how clearly the majority were figuring on closing, and that the staff was firmly fixed on that, and that it was going to take something significant to bring about a change. And lo and behold, the community, in fact, came up with something significant. I think the neighbourhood house played a major and helpful role in assisting the community come up with it.
One of the things we started to notice fairly early on was this dual role that we had going with the process of Frog Hollow on the one hand and the parents and community on the other.
We then worked through a huge community process where we had countless meetings at people's kitchen tables, in coffee shops, here at Frog Hollow, at the school.
Our meetings were so intense. Like I'd get like 60 emails a day. Like we would have meetings and at the meeting there was so much to do. Like everyone would be talking all at the same time because it was so intense, the amount of work that we had to do.
Then we had a lot of support too from our MLA, Shane Simpson.
We started working together. We worked with the parents. We had meetings here, meetings at Garibaldi. We talked about what we could do, what might be some of the ways to meet this goal of making the school financially viable as well as educationally viable in the community.
Gary did a huge amount of work on trying to look at the financial side of things and aligning that with the school board needs in terms of the finances. So it really was a team effort.
We did a forecast for what we expected the enrollment to be after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the road, and it showed that the school, if we were right on and they were fairly conservative projections, if they came true, it showed that the school would be viable after 2 years.
So in the end, that is what we came up with, was this idea of keeping the small traditional school, which was very important to many parents. The smallness was key. Having the home learning part, which was knowing that there was a lot of people in this community who were traveling outside of the community to get that kind of programming. And then at the same time, also having the overarching themes of arts, culture, and sustainable community, which was a way of kind of wrapping everything together.
We had some rallies. We had the carnival band lead us in a procession into the school board for decision day. It was quite amusing. It was very powerful. We were all clad in Garibaldi shirts, and there was children and grandparents.
We bussed people over there to the Vancouver School Board offices. There were, I don't know how many people, maybe 100, I don't know, I can't remember the numbers exactly.
We had the carnival band, and all of our kids came, and we marched around the school board, VSB, out all around Broadway, and
created a real hullabaloo in this kind of stuffy school board atmosphere, traditional atmosphere.
Diane said that we had these teddy bears, and then we thought that we would use them somehow.
And the idea was each bear represented a student, and basically we went and we took our bears and we put them all in front of the school board trustees and said, this represents the students that are going to lose out if the school would close. And
Kate and I are neighbors. Our children play together, and we see the world very differently, and at the same time we see the world in very similar ways.
And I stood up and sort of spoke at a turn, and I got the floor, and I basically said, it's not acceptable the way that it was carried out, and it didn't give parents a chance to have a fair say or a chance to react.
When it boiled right down, we were the two people on the review committee. She was the representative from the school, and I was the representative from the community. And after a whole bunch of work, and after the proposal had been done, and after we'd done a whole bunch of community work, it boiled down to us two and 3 reps from the school board.
And they came back with a proposal that I thought was superb.
And they gave us a chance, and they said, you know what? We're going to let you do your proposal. We're going to let you implement it, and we'll see how it goes. And we're going to give you, I think it was it 3 years, I think.
Now it's going great guns and more than fulfilling the expectations earlier than the schedule allowed for. And the credit goes to the work of the school and the neighborhood house in working together to really energize the community.
It's not statistically perfect, but given no money and resources, we actually did do a really good job of kind of finding out what our community wanted and then responding to it in a proposal.
And I think they were excited to say yes in that final meeting. They were on board, they had buy-in And it was such a collaborative process. It was hard for them to say no.
I have never experienced really what it felt like that moment for for our kids, you know, to be at the VSB the moment that they voted in our favor. And we were like literally hugging and crying with school board trustees and superintendents, and
They all came together in a consensus that really went against the kind of the big plan that the VSB had.
you know, like of all of the big things that I've done, it was like such a small kind of grassroots thing, but it felt so meaningful. It felt so hopeful. And I think it was that day at the VSB that the trustees voted in our favor just because it was the right thing to do. So in the proposal, the strength is that arts, sustainability and culture, kind of the umbrella, and then the DL, the home learning stream, and then building the whole idea of the community.
Everybody was willing to be collaborative about it and work together. And it was just an incredible process for me to see how well people worked together towards a common goal, even though they had different ideas about what they might get. They realized that, you know, the most important thing was keeping the school open for the community, and that's what everybody was willing to put their own ideas secondary to that primary goal. There are 62 kids enrolled for the regular school for September after 1 year. And there are 26 kids in the hybrid learning program after 1 year. Already we've met the 3-year goal in 1 year for what we had imagined would happen after maybe 2 or 3 years. So it's working marvelously.